There is a planet in the solar system where daytime burns like the forge of the stars, and nighttime becomes so cold that even light seems to fall silent. A small, solitary world, standing closest to the blazing sun, yet wrapped in a secret so gentle it almost seems unreal. A faint, breath-thin tail of light, stretching millions of kilometers across the absolute blackness of space. That planet is Mercury, and tonight we will listen to its story. Welcome back to the space of this night. Here we listen to the cosmos slowly, softly, as though time itself were drifting above us on dust made of stars. You do not need to remember anything. You do not need to try to understand quickly. Simply allow your body to soften and let your breath return to its simplest natural rhythm, like small waves touching the shore. Find a comfortable place to sit or lie down. If you'd like, you may close your eyes now, because from here on, everything will unfold inside your mind. Imagine you are standing on Mercury's surface in a night so long that dawn will not return for weeks. The sky above you is completely black. There is no atmosphere to scatter light, no wind, no sound, only absolute stillness. But within that stillness, something extraordinary. When you look away from the sun, you begin to see a faint, delicate streak of pale golden light stretching outward into infinity. It is not a highway, not the Milky Way. It is Mercury's sodium tail, a massive stream of tiny atomic particles being pushed away bit by bit by sunlight, so light it seems almost non-existent, yet so long it surpasses human imagination. It reminds us that even the smallest planet, even the one closest to the sun, keeps a beauty that is quiet, fragile, and patient, like the human mind when it slows down, when it stops running, when only breath and heartbeat remain. Tonight, we will travel into that stillness, where Mercury's stories will be told in a slow, warm voice. And all you need to do is drift. Take a soft inhale and exhale gently. We begin Chapter 1, starting with the mission context. Mercury lives in an extreme environment, scorching sunlight, intense radiation, and constant micrometeorite impacts, all of which make exploration incredibly difficult. Humanity's first visits: Mariner 10 flyby, 1,970 seconds. Messenger orbital mission 2011-2015. BepiColombo ESA plus JAXA currently en route, expected to enter orbit December 2025. BepiColombo's journey, a 7-year voyage, 18 loops around the Sun, 9 planetary flybys, Earth, Venus twice, Mercury 6 times, traveling nearly 8.5 billion kilometers, all to slow down enough not to fall into the Sunday. It carries 3 modules. MPO studies the surface and interior. MEO studies Mercury's magnetic field. MTM, the propulsion stage, which will release them on arrival. What has already been seen. During its flybys, BepiColombo has captured high-resolution images of vast impact basins like coloruses, ancient lava plains and molten rock seas, glowing bright spots of reflective mineral deposits, long, curved tectonic scarps such as Beagle Rupes. It has even recorded magnetic and particle interactions and converted them into sound, allowing us to hear Mercury's magnetosphere, Mercury's long sodium tail, Discovered in the early 2000s using sodium-line filters, 589 nanometers, the tail extends millions of kilometers, brightest about 16 days after perihelion, when solar radiation pressure effectively blows sodium atoms outward. This tells us Mercury is still changing, still losing material, still interacting with the Sunday, and it serves as a natural model for studying hot exoplanets and airless worlds, including Earth's moon, which also has a faint sodium tail. The planet itself, Mercury, is mostly metal, about 70% iron by mass. Its outer layers have cooled and contracted, causing the surface to wrinkle into massive fault scarps. It has an extremely thin exosphere, not a true atmosphere. Inside, permanently shadowed polar craters. Water ice survives. It has a weak but active magnetic field, suggesting the inner core is still partially molten. Mercury is not dead. It is simply very quiet. Take another slow breath. We continue. Chapter 2. The BepiColombo Journey. Imagine you are standing before a spacecraft, but not the kind that roars forward in dazzling, noisy science fiction films. No thunderous blasts, no gigantic jets of fire, only a motion that is very slow, very gentle, as if the craft were drifting in water, unhurried, unforced, knowing its destination lies far away, farther still. That craft is named BepiColombo, a strange little name, like a small song. It is the meeting of two worlds, the European Space Agency, ESA, and the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, JAXA. Two different perspectives, two different scientific approaches, but bound to a single aim: to reach Mercury softly. BepiColombo's journey is not a straight flight. It is a wide spiral, stretching across 7 years, covering 8.5 billion kilometers. Not to go farther, but to go slower, because in space, to draw near the sun, you must reduce speed, not increase it. If you speed up, you will be pulled straight into the sun, like a mote swept into a flame. But if you slow too quickly, you won't have the strength to arrive. You must balance like someone learning to walk a tight thread in the dark. So BepiColombo must pass once by Earth, twice by Venus, and 6 times by Mercury, before it is finally allowed to stay by its side. We call that action a flyby, to pass close by, like a hand brushing a planet's sleeve, then letting go, to change the trajectory just a little, the speed just a little. But that little bit is the difference between success and loss. In total, 18 laps around the Sunday, 9 planetary contacts, 8.5 billion kilometers. Not because we don't know the way, but because we are learning how to walk very slowly. If you look at BepiColombo from the outside, you'll see it isn't a single body. It is like 3 companions leaning on one another, walking in the same direction. MPO, Mercury Planetary Orbiter, ESA. This is the careful surveyor. It looks at Mercury's surface, measuring mountains, valleys, craters, mineral layers, and even the planet's interior. It studies the sediments of time. MEO, Mercury, Magnetospheric Orbiter, JAXA. This is the listener. It does not watch the surface. It listens to the magnetic field, the invisible lines of force where the planet and the solar wind meet and cross. It studies the unseen space where light cannot see, but forces still exist. MTM, Mercury Transfer Module. This is the guide. It is the propulsion, the way the two friends make their long voyage. When they arrive, the guide will gently separate, setting them into orbit like a hand placing two leaves into a still stream. All three are connected, like a flock of birds. No one goes alone. No one plays the lone hero. They travel together, knowing that upon arrival they will part, each taking a different path to observe Mercury from two distinct vantage points, one close to the surface, one farther out in the magnetosphere, one pair of eyes looking into rock, one pair of ears listening to the invisible wind, so they can tell two halves of the same story. All along the journey, BepiColombo glides through boundless emptiness, where sunlight is no longer warm, but turned sharp, fine, and so brilliant, no darkness can hide it. In that space, the spacecraft makes no sound, no engine noise, no wind, no echo, only a path held by equations, gravity, and the patience humanity reserves for faraway things. Yet if you listen more deeply, it feels as though the spacecraft is singing, not with sound, but with motion, a motion measured in millions of kilometers, and as light as a breath. Every flyby is a turn like a dancer pivoting in the sun's light, unhurried, unlost, only continuing. And perhaps the loveliest idea in this journey is this: to approach something scorching, intense, radiant, we must move very slowly. Space has taught us that. Mercury cannot be conquered by speed. It can only be approached by patience. So too with the human mind. When it is too hot, too full, too bright, we cannot rush in to understand it. We must sit down, take a soft breath, and let everything slow, like BepiColombo, crossing billions of kilometers, not to arrive faster, but to arrive the right way. Close your eyes for a beat. Let your breath drift slowly. Let your heartbeat fall into this gentle hush. Because BepiColombo's journey is not only a story of science, it is a very small, very soft reminder. The most important things are never in a hurry. Chapter 3: What BepiColombo has whispered to us so far. And now, gently, we drift a little deeper. Imagine looking at a planet from very close, but not with human eyes, with an eye made of sensors and mirrors, an eye that can see across hundreds of wavelengths of light, an eye that can look through shadow, through cooled stone, deep into the memory of the planet itself. When BepiColombo swept past Mercury during its flybys, the spacecraft did not stop. It only passed by, but even passing by was enough to return to Earth images that made humanity still itself, if only for a moment. In those images appeared one of the largest planetary scars in the solar system, the Caloris Basin. Imagine an impact crater so vast that even if we placed the entire Himalayan mountain range inside it, the mountains would look small. Caloris spans over 1,500 kilometers, a signature of an ancient collision so violent that language struggles to describe it. It is not simply a crater, it is a memory of a time when the solar system was young, raw, chaotic, when worlds slammed into one another like stones thrown in the storm of creation. Along the edges of Caloris, there are curved ridges, the lobate scarps. They look like the gentle folds on a sleeping hand, but they are marks of planetary contraction. They tell us Mercury once was larger, and over billions of years, its interior cooled and shrank, pulling the surface inward, wrinkling it like a drying apple. One of the largest of these, Beagle rupus, stretches across hundreds of kilometers, thin, curved, delicate, like a fine wrinkle across the face of the universe. And there are plains on Mercury, so smooth and broad, they look like frozen lakes, but they are not ice. They are ancient lava plains. Once, lava moved across Mercury's surface, like molten blood glowing in a young world. It cooled not in the rush of wind or weather, but slowly, silently, the way time writes. No storms, no oceans, only heat, then stillness. Scattered among these plains are bright spots, small, reflective patches that shine just a little more than their surroundings. Their presence asks questions. What mineral lies exposed here? What process revealed it? Why here? Why these places? These bright regions are like candles left burning in a cathedral forgotten for millennia. But Mercury is not only seen, it is heard. Inside BepiColombo are instruments, accelerometers, magnetometers, plasma sensors. They record vibrations, magnetic tremors, subtle shifts in the invisible architecture of space. Scientists on Earth take these numbers and turn them into sound, a process called sonification. When BepiColombo slips into Mercury's shadow, the tones dip into a low, soft hum, like the universe sighing. When it emerges back into sunlight, the tone shifts, not loud, never sharp, but changing, like a breath resuming. There is no sound in space, but there is rhythm, the rhythm of gravity, the rhythm of light, the rhythm of the solar wind brushing Mercury's magnetic field, a music not for the ears, but for imagination. It sounds like silent singing. And then there are things no ordinary eye could see, extremely faint traces in the ultraviolet spectrum. Using the FEES, PEP, ultraviolet spectrometers, BepiColombo detected elements in Mercury's exosphere, its whisper-thin atmosphere: hydrogen, H, calcium, Ca, magnesium, Mer, sodium, Na, potassium, K. Here is the quiet wonder. Na and K gather near the poles, but Ka appears mostly near the equator and night side, as if invisible winds move in a world too thin to be called atmosphere. A breath so delicate, it is barely there, and yet it is. When BepiColombo enters full orbit in 2025, its instruments will open completely. Then, we will not only see Mercury's surface, we will see Mercury living in its slow, dim rhythm. A planet not dead, but dreaming. Take another soft breath. Let your body settle. Let your mind widen like night sky. Nothing needs to be remembered. Nothing needs to be analyzed. Knowledge will settle by itself, the way light finds stone. Mercury has been speaking to us through only a handful of passing glances. A quiet planet, a forgotten world, a low note in the solar system's symphony. But if we listen closely, we find it is not silent. It is simply whispering. And BepiColombo is the one who is listening. When you're ready, Chapter 4, The Long Trail of Light in the Dark, Mercury's Sodium Tail. And now, very gently, we drift further into the night. If you close your eyes for a moment, imagine yourself standing on the surface of Mercury in a night so long that sunrise will not return for weeks. There is no air, no sound, no wind. Everything is still, at a depth of silence the human heart rarely touches. Above you, the sky is completely black, not the soft black of midnight on Earth, but a deep, absolute black, where every star is sharp and cold, because no atmosphere softens their light. Then, slowly, you turn away from the Sunday, and something gentle happens. A thin glow so faint it could be mistaken for imagination begins to stretch outward into the darkness. A pale, golden mist, a filament of light, a quiet breath of the planet. It is real. This is Mercury's sodium tail, a trail of light that extends millions of kilometers into the emptiness of space. One discovery, something humanity did not see for thousands of years. Mercury has been known since ancient times. The Babylonians recorded it. The Greeks, the Maya, the Egyptians studied its motion. Yet for all these centuries, no one knew Mercury carried a shimmering tail behind it. The reason is simple. The sodium tail is far too faint to be seen by the human eye. Only in the early 2000s, when astronomers used a special sodium light filter at 589 nanometers, the exact wavelength at which sodium atoms emit light, did the tail appear. A soft plume stretching over 2.5 million kilometers, long enough to span nearly half the distance from Earth to the Moon. It is brightest about 16 days after Mercury reaches perihelion, the point where Mercury is closest to the Sunday. Why 16 days? Because light and motion align, because sunlight pushes sodium atoms away, and the Doppler shift scatters their glow into visibility. Not an accident, a dance between light and speed. 2. How the tail forms when light becomes wind. Mercury has no protective atmosphere. Its surface is exposed directly to space. 3 forces release sodium from the crust. Sputtering, solar wind-charged particles traveling at millions of kilometers per hour strike the rock, knocking sodium loose. Like tiny sparks carved out of stone, micrometeoroid impacts, even grains of cosmic dust, no larger than sand, strike Mercury with enormous energy. These collisions vaporize thin surface layers, freeing sodium atoms into space. Solar radiation pressure. Light does not have mass, but it does have momentum. Each photon pushes ever so slightly. Individually, the push is nothing, but space is endless, and there is no resistance. Small pushes, repeated forever, become a current of light, and so a tail is formed, not of smoke, not of gas, but of atoms lifted by sunlight and carried out into the night. 3. The larger meaning Mercury as a key to other worlds. Mercury's sodium tail is not just beautiful, it is a clue. It shows us that Mercury is still losing material, still changing, still responding to the Sunday. The sun shapes Mercury slowly, grain by grain, breath by breath. This matters not only for Mercury, it helps us understand other worlds. Hot Jupiters, giant exoplanets orbiting dangerously close to their stars, may also be shedding atmospheres, leaving long glowing tails behind them. Mercury teaches us how to read those signals. Airless bodies, even the Moon has a faint sodium tail, much weaker, but formed by the same quiet mechanisms. Mercury is a laboratory of sunlight, where interaction between star and rock is exposed, unsoftened, unhidden. Here, We see the universe working openly, not behind clouds, not beneath atmosphere, just light, stone, and time. 4. A beauty visible only to those who slow down. The most extraordinary thing about Mercury's tail is not how long it is, but how delicate. It is almost invisible. To see it, one must observe slowly, filter light precisely. Wait, it is a beauty that does not announce itself. It must be approached gently, like the quietest parts of the human mind, the emotions that only appear when the noise finally fades. Take a slow breath. The sky inside you is opening. Mercury drifts across it, distant, pale, but unmistakably alive. This tail of light is not a sign of loss. It is a sign of continuation. Mercury has been whispering for billions of years, not loudly, not urgently, but steadily. A planet that does not speak, yet never stops telling its story. Chapter 5. A wider portrait of Mercury. And now, as if taking one gentle step deeper, we widen our view. Imagine standing before a very old painting, a canvas stretched across billions of years, painted not with colors, but with rock, heat, silence, and time. That painting is Mercury. It is not a youthful world. It is not a world of shimmering atmospheres or colorful storms. It has no oceans to reflect sunlight, no blue sky to cradle clouds, no seasons unfolding across wide landscapes. Yet within its starkness, there is a beauty so ancient, so quiet, it feels like the universe speaking in stone. 1. A planet of metal and quiet weight. Mercury's structure is unlike the other rocky planets. Roughly 70% of its mass is metal, mostly iron. A vast metallic core wrapped in only a thin shell of silicate rock. The remaining 30% is stone. This makes Mercury the densest planet in the solar system. Once we account for gravity, it is as if the outer layers of the planet were stripped away long ago, or perhaps it was born different from the beginning, formed in a region rich in metal, close to the violent heat of the early Sunday. Either way, Mercury stands like a bare planetary heart, a core exposed to the void, heavy, compact, enduring, and that heart still beats. 2. Wrinkles in stone, the memory of cooling. More than 4.5 billion years ago, Mercury was molten and bright, rivers of fire moving across its surface. Then, over ages beyond human scale, it cooled, and when it cooled, it contracted, not slightly, but by more than 14 kilometers in diameter. The surface tightened, folded, and wrinkled. These are the lobate scarps, cliff-like ridges stretching for hundreds of kilometers, rising up to 1 or 2 kilometers high. They are Mercury's lines of age, time carved into rock, the handwriting of the universe, written slowly, carefully, without haste. 3. A breath so thin it is almost not there. Mercury does not have an atmosphere, not in the sense we are accustomed to. Instead, it has an exosphere, a whisper-thin envelope of atoms so sparse they almost never touch one another. Yet even in this near-nothingness, stories exist. Scientists have found sodium, Na, potassium, K, magnesium, Mg, calcium, Ko, hydrogen, H, helium, He. These atoms are constantly arriving and leaving, knocked loose by solar wind and micrometeoroid strikes, then swept away by sunlight, and in the deep polar craters, where sunlight never reaches, there is water ice. In a world hot enough to melt metal, water survives. In darkness, a contradiction, as quiet and beautiful as a poem. 4. A weak magnetic field, but alive. The strangest thing about Mercury is this: it has a magnetic field, not strong like Earth's, but present about 1.1% as strong, and shifted off-center. Not symmetrical, not neat, like a heartbeat that is there, but uneven. A magnetic field means the core must still be liquid, still moving, still stirring in slow currents, which means Mercury is not geologically dead. Its heart still turns, slowly, like embers inside ashes. 5. Ancient volcanoes and young hollows, the planet still changes. Messenger and BepiColombo images reveal Mercury once had powerful volcanic eruptions. Lava flooded wide basins, cooling into the smooth plains we see today. There are also signs of pyroclastic flows, suggesting explosive volcanic activity in Mercury's distant past. But the most intriguing features are the hollows, bright, shallow depressions with sharp edges, too crisp to be ancient. They appear young, which means Mercury is still evolving, very slowly, but undeniably not lifeless, just quiet. 6. Silence is not the same as stillness. Mercury does not roar like Jupiter. It does not shine with rings like Saturn. It does not glow red with dust storms like Mars. It is silent, heavy, alone. But silence is not emptiness, and solitude is not absence. Mercury teaches some worlds survive by moving slowly, by enduring rather than displaying, by speaking in the faintest voice possible, but never losing the message. Just like the quiet parts of the human mind that awaken only when the world finally stops being loud. Take a slow breath. You are listening to a planet speak in a language carved into its surface. Over billions of years, time always speaks softly. Chapter 6, BepiColombo, when light returns to Mercury. And now, as if opening a page that has been waiting quietly, we continue. Imagine you are standing at the edge of a very old book, a book whose pages have been stained by radiation, dented by meteor impacts, faded by the harsh white blaze of the Sunday. That book is Mercury. For billions of years, this small world has remained silent, a relic of the early solar system, a memory held in stone. And though we have visited before with Mariner 10 and later Messenger, much of Mercury's story is still unwritten in our minds. There are regions we have never seen in full sunlight, patterns whose meaning remains incomplete, questions that hover like whispering shadows. How did Mercury form? Why does it have such a large core? Why does its magnetic field lean, uneven, and asymmetric? Is the planet still cooling, still shrinking, still alive? And so, a mission began. Not a rushing, heroic sprint, but a slow, steady return of attention. That mission is BepiColombo. 1. A journey as long as a deep breath. BepiColombo is not traveling toward Mercury in a straight, quick line. It cannot. Near the sun, gravity becomes fierce. If the spacecraft flew quickly, it would not arrive at Mercury. It would be pulled into the sun like a leaf caught by fire. So BepiColombo must slow down, not by brakes, but by orbiting. Over 7 years, it will complete 18 orbits around the Sun, 9 planetary flybys, 1 pass by Earth, 2 passes by Venus, 6 passes by Mercury by. Total distance traveled 8.5 billion kilometers, all for one purpose: to arrive gently, like someone placing a feather onto a still surface, without disturbing the water underneath. A journey not defined by force, but by patience. 2. The spacecraft with 3 hearts. BepiColombo is not one machine. It is 3 companions traveling together, sharing purpose. MPO, Mercury Planetary Orbiter, ESA. The observer of land, it measures mountains, plains, scarps, craters, and peers into Mercury's mineral composition and internal structure. It studies the history written in rock. MEO, Mercury Magnetospheric Orbiter, JAXA. The listener. It focuses on Mercury's magnetic field and magnetosphere, the invisible region where solar wind and Mercury's inner core interact. It listens to forces too quiet for human senses. MTM Mercury Transfer Module, the guide. It provides the thrust, the slow, steady push through the long years of travel. When the journey ends, it will separate and drift away, its purpose complete. When BepiColombo reaches Mercury, expected December 2025, the 2 orbiters will part and settle into different orbits, one close to the surface, one far above, watching the magnetic boundary. 2 vantage points, telling one story. 3. What we still do not know. Messenger gave us a beginning, but not a conclusion. There are still shadows in the map. The southern hemisphere is only partially imaged. The exosphere's composition changes with day, night, and orbit. The magnetic field's offset must be measured precisely. We do not yet know how Mercury's core moves. We do not know if cooling has ended or continues millimeter by millimeter. Mercury may still be changing, very slowly, like embers beneath ash. BepiColombo will ask, is the core still churning? Is heat still rising? Is the planet still shrinking? How does the magnetic field drift? Each answer is a whisper, and BepiColombo is arriving to listen. 4. When science becomes a lullaby, not all data arrives as images, not all understanding arrives as words. The instruments aboard BepiColombo, magnetometers, accelerometers, plasma detectors, record patterns of invisible motion. Scientists convert these signals into sound. When BepiColombo enters Mercury's shadow, you hear a deep, low tone, a soft drop into darkness. When it returns to sunlight, the tone rises, as if the spacecraft is exhaling, not music, not noise, but something between, the breathing of a world. In these sounds, we hear solar wind brushing a magnetic boundary, plasma arcs flickering in silence, the hush of a planet that rarely speaks by us, a lullaby made of forces older than life. 5. Why this matters. BepiColombo is not only studying Mercury, it is studying how humans reach something difficult. Mercury is small, hot, close to the Sunday, hard to approach, harder to stay near. Reaching it requires not strength, but patience, not speed, but restraint, not urgency, but trust in slow progress. Just as a quiet mind cannot be forced open, Mercury cannot be rushed. Close your eyes for a moment. Let your breath slow, like an orbit widening, like a spacecraft easing through space. You are not required to understand everything at once. You are only asked to drift with the rhythm. BepiColombo is still traveling, quietly, faithfully, without hurry, just like you, right now, in the soft dark of night. Chapter 7 Lessons from a Quiet Planet. And now, softly, we step inward rather than outward. If you have ever looked up at the night sky, perhaps you have felt this. The universe does not rush. It does not shout. It does not try to impress. It simply is. Slow, patient, unconcerned with being seen. And among all the planets in our solar system, Mercury is the one that embodies this quiet most deeply. It has no swirling storms like Jupiter, no golden rings like Saturn, no blue skies like Earth, no red deserts like Mars. Mercury is simply a scorched, silent stone, circling the Sunday, small, weathered, unshielded, unadorned. Because of this, it is easy to overlook, easy to forget, easy to pass by in search of grander beauty. But sometimes, the things that speak the least hold the deepest stories. 1. Silence is not emptiness. Mercury appears quiet, but its silence is not a void. It is a memory. Every crater, every collapsed ridge, every folded seam in the crust is a page in the solar system's diary. Mercury does not refresh its surface with oceans, winds, or tectonic plates. It keeps its history. It remembers. Where Earth rewrites, Mercury preserves. It is a library of stone, holding the earliest chapters of our cosmic past. When planets collided and reformed, when orbits shifted wildly, when heat and gravity sculpted matter into worlds. If Mars tells the story of where water once flowed, and Earth tells the story of life, then Mercury tells the story of fire and what remains after the fire cools. 2. Slow does not mean weak. A day on Mercury, sunrise to sunrise, lasts 176 Earth days. It turns slowly. It changes slowly. It takes its time. Day burns like a furnace. Night freezes like deep space. But nothing breaks. Mercury simply endures. In the universe, speed is not strength. To move slowly and still remain, that is endurance. That is survival. And sometimes, to understand something deeply, we must slow ourselves to its pace. 3. A planet that appears lifeless but still breathes. Perhaps the most surprising truth about Mercury is not its temperature, nor its closeness to the Sunday. It is this: Mercury still has a magnetic field, weaker than Earth's, offset and uneven, but undeniably real. A magnetic field means the core is still liquid, still rotating, still alive with slow, hidden motion, which means the planet is not dead. It is simply quiet, a heart beating softly in the dark. 4. The sodium tail, a gentle kind of letting go. When sunlight strikes Mercury's surface, it dislodges atoms of sodium, lifting them into space. Light then pushes them outward, forming the long, faint sodium tail. From a distance, Mercury looks like a small world, leaving behind a soft ribbon of gold. Not a flare, not an explosion, just a quiet exhalation, a release, a trace, a memory trailing behind motion. It does not cling to what it loses. It lets go softly, as all things must, eventually. 5. What Mercury teaches us. From Mercury, we learn. Silence is not the absence of meaning. The greatest endurance is often the quietest. Not everything needs to shine to matter. Some stories are written slowly. Some beauty requires patience to see. Mercury does not demand to be admired. It does not raise its voice. It does not seek recognition. It simply continues, orbit after orbit, year after year, age after age. It is enough. 6. A moment for you. Now, take a breath, soft, unforced. In, hold, and release. Your breath is an orbit, a cycle, a rhythm. You do not need to hurry. You do not need to prove anything right now. You are allowed to simply exist, quietly, softly, like Mercury gliding around the sun, never rushing, never asking to be seen, but always continuing. Chapter 8. Mercury and the art of understanding what is not easy to love. And now, gently, we lean a little closer to the quiet things. There are worlds in our solar system that are easy to adore. The soft turquoise glow of Saturn's rings, the swirling painted storms of Jupiter, the smooth white ice of Europa. Their beauty is immediate, recognizable, close to human emotion. But Mercury is different. It has no oceans to mirror the stars, no air to tint sunrise or sunset, no clouds, no seasons, no gentle gradients of color, only gray rock and burning day and freezing night. Mercury is a world that does not offer itself easily, and like certain people, certain memories, certain chapters of our own lives, its beauty is not seen at first glance. It lives underneath. 1. Difficulty is not rejection. For centuries, Mercury appeared as nothing more than a flicker of light beside the overwhelming shine of the Sunday, a small, trembling dot, hard to look at, hard to focus on. Human telescopes could not reveal its surface. Its features stayed hidden, not because Mercury wished to conceal them, but because the conditions to see it were not simple. It is the same with some people, some memories, some truths. They require patience, presence, and a willingness to stay. Mercury did not hide because it wanted to. It hid because we did not yet know how to look. 2. When science becomes listening, it was only when we truly came close, first with Mariner 10 and later with Messenger, that Mercury began to speak, not loudly, not all at once, but softly, as stone speaks, through scars, through folded ridges, through the bright hollows that look newly formed. Mercury had not died. It had simply settled into quiet, a heart still beating, but slowly. Then came BepiColombo, a mission not built on force, but on patience. 7 years of travel, 18 orbits of the Sunday, a dance of gravity and timing, not to conquer Mercury, but to listen better. There are discoveries that come quickly, and there are discoveries that bloom only when we stop hurrying. 3. The humility of understanding what does not ask to be understood. Mercury does not try to impress. It does not dazzle. It does not call attention. It does not glow with color or movement. It simply continues, quietly. And in that very lack of spectacle, it invites a question. Can we appreciate something? that does not perform for us? Can we value something that reveals itself only when we slow down? Much of life is like this, a quiet gesture, a brief moment of stillness, a memory that returns only when the noise fades, a person who speaks only when they feel safe. Meaning is not always bright. Sometimes it is soft, for silence is also a language. Mercury tells its story without sound. Its landscape is made of ancient lava plains, cooling fractures, ridges that ripple like the skin of something once alive, patterns carved by slow, silent contraction. No waves, no winds, no storms, but memory remains. Not memory held in words, but memory written into stone. Some lives, too, are remembered this way, not because of loud moments, but because of endurance, because of the quiet shaping of time. 5. A final pause for you. Let us stop just for a moment. No effort, no goal, no reaching, just breath. In, hold, and release. You are doing what Mercury has done for billions of years, holding, cooling, changing slowly. You do not have to be dazzling to be meaningful. You do not have to be loud to be real. You do not have to be fast to be alive. You simply have to remain gently at your own pace. The quietest presence can be the most honest one. Chapter 9, Closing Reflection, Why We Still Seek the Stars. And now, gently, we come to the final drift of this journey. After everything we have traveled through together, the heat of Mercury's days, the quiet cold of its nights, the slow breathing of its metallic heart, a question rises softly, like a slow tide in the dark. Why do we do this? Why do we send spacecraft across billions of kilometers through silent space toward a small, grey, unadorned world? Why do we wait years, sometimes decades, for a single signal to return? Why do we care? The answer is not loud. It lives beneath thought, beneath language, beneath logic. It lives in the quiet part of the human mind where wonder never went out. 1. We look to Mercury to understand ourselves. When we look at Mercury, we are not only looking at a distant planet, we are looking into the past of our own world, a time before oceans, before clouds, before life. Mercury shows us the raw beginning of planetary formation, the fire, the cooling, the settling. To understand Mercury is to understand the earliest page of the story that led to us. We look outward to remember where we began. 2. We are a species that does not stand still. Once, we lived in caves, then we crossed grasslands, then oceans, then skies, and now space. Not because we must, not because Earth is not enough, but because something inside us keeps reaching. Even when our bodies sleep, our minds travel, we dream, we imagine, we send ourselves into the dark in the shape of spacecraft and questions. Movement is our nature. Curiosity is our inheritance. We continue because we always have. 3. There are beauties that take time to see. Some worlds dazzle instantly. Mercury is not one of them. Its beauty is not loud, not immediate. It is a beauty that reveals itself only to those who stay. The patient, the attentive, the quiet, just like certain people, certain memories, certain truths in our own lives. Not everything meaningful shouts. Some things whisper, Mercury whispers, and we listen, for in silence we find space for ourselves. When we look at Mercury, we see a world without voices, without oceans, without storms, and in that vast quiet, something opens inside us, a space to breathe, a space where our thoughts are no longer crowded, where the world no longer pulls at us, where we can just exist softly. Outer space becomes inner space. We do not only explore the universe, we explore our own minds. 5. We seek the stars because we are made of them. Every atom in your bones was forged in the core of a star. Every carbon molecule in your breath was born in stellar fire. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are what the cosmos made of itself so that it could look back. When we reach for Mercury, for Venus, for Mars, for the distant exoplanets we cannot yet touch, we are not expanding outward. We are coming home. A final moment for you. Close your eyes. Let your breath fall into the slow orbit we have followed, in and out, like a planet moving through darkness. You do not need to understand everything. You do not need to remember everything. You do not need to hold anything tightly. Just rest. The universe is wide and patient and older than worry. Mercury continues its quiet path around the sun, not to be admired, not to be known, but simply to exist in its own rhythm. And you, too, are allowed to exist like this, softly, slowly, without force. The night holds you, the stars do not hurry, and there is a place for you in all of this, exactly as you are.